Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Filter Gen Z. We are young Americans fighting to defend the truth. I'm joined today again by my wonderful co-hosts, Fadana and Lydia. Sorry, other way around. Welcome, guys. Today we're just going to get into just everything going on, but first we have to talk about what the government is doing in the situation of the American people suffering and really struggling, fighting for their lives in the Hurricane Helene impacts, because we have North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. There's like numerous states that have deaths now and people that are lost, and the government really isn't doing their job. And yes, Joe Biden said like, yeah, I've been talking to people, but they're not even there. What I've seen firsthand on X and like actual video of people is veterans and citizens going with private planes and private helicopters helping each other, but the government really isn't doing much. So what are you guys, just your initial thoughts on this whole thing, Fadana?
Well, to be honest with you, it's just so sad that we live in America and the government doesn't even care about its own citizen. You know, that is just so crucial. That is so bad of the government, not crucial. I'm sorry. My words are all twisted this morning. But to be honest with you, I don't think the government should be investing billions and trillions of dollars in Ukraine, but here it's citizen and it's not caring for its basic needs.
Yeah.
And I just think that the government needs to step down. There needs to be new people that comes into the government, because the people who are working in the government, we're the people. We are the ones that elect them to do their job, and they're not doing their job. So what's the whole point of them being there if they're supposed to represent the American people?
And we're 30 days out from an election, so don't give them a promotion.
Right.
The vice president being like, if you elect her, the same thing's going to go on. We need a change.
Right.
And yeah, you hit the nail on the head. We're sending all our money overseas to other countries, but we're not protecting ourselves first. It's kind of like the airplane thing. When you're on an airplane, you have to put on your own oxygen mask to help someone else put on theirs.
Exactly.
But our government is not doing that. They're spending all our money and saying, and FEMA even is coming out and saying we're broke. Well, that's because we've spent all our money on other countries and not our own. So I really don't understand why they're not putting America first. And that's why I think we really need a change going into the election. But Lydia, what do you think about this? They gave $750 to hurricane victims and billions to Ukraine. Illegal immigrants are getting $5,000 each and free healthcare and all this, but the American citizens, taxpayers, aren't even getting $1,000.
I mean, it's ridiculous at this point. Like, I think about like all the illegal immigrants, what you were just mentioning, just how, I mean, they get thousands of dollars and they get like a phone. And in the beginning, where they were able to stay in like the nicest hotels, and these people are literally, they're left homeless essentially. I mean, they can't really, I mean, their places are unlivable. They have to find, friends and family to live with at this point. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I look at like, when I compare obviously the Biden administration to Trump, but like Trump, I know that he's been wanting to go. I remember he wanted to go. I had heard that he wanted to go to North Carolina to just visit and just talk with people and just, hear their stories. And, they wouldn't let him obviously, because there's so many parts that are so dangerous right now, but he wanted to. And I think if I remember correctly, I think he was able to make it to Georgia. But the thing is, Biden nor Harris are there at all. And they're not even talking about it hardly, is the thing. It's just sad. It's our own American people that are just being left like this, and they're not even taken care of by their own government.
And the two
I've even seen too, Camden, that immigrants are even getting money. And then the American people are only getting $750. That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And I mean, the two most powerful people in the United States, the president and vice president, aren't doing anything. It's ridiculous. But North Carolina was hit really hard. And I want to show you guys a video real quick. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but just look at some of the damage and what's going on in North Carolina right now. I mean, it looks demolished. The streets are flattened.
Wow. It looks like no offense, a third world country.
It does, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it does.
And there's still thousands of people missing, by the way, too.
Yeah.
That is just so sad. Like, Kamala should be out there doing something about it.
I know.
She should have the Coast Guard or something there to help the people. Like, come on now, help the American civilians.
Yeah, and I'm seeing videos of Americans coming together more than the government, because we are the only way that people can actually survive this is if other people help them, because you can't just rely on this government that doesn't do anything for us. But I have seen people go out and actually help people and are on the ground there, which is awesome. But there's still so many people struggling. I mean, I saw a news story about 3 teenage kids that were just they were found on a football field starving because their parents got killed by the hurricane or flooding,
That's so sad.
and they had nowhere to go, no food. So I mean, it's ridiculous, and to only give Americans $750, that is nothing compared to the damage that they're having to go through right now.
What is $750 going to do for somebody? Like, tell me.
Really gonna make a dent. Yeah.
And I mean, if FEMA's already broke, like they are actually saying themselves, then they're not going to be able to do much. And you talk about leadership. The only people doing anything are, one, Ron DeSantis, our governor in Florida, is deploying the National Guard to North Carolina to help them because the government won't do anything. So that is a leader right there. And the government right now is just silent. They're not doing anything. And I know they're going to make a public appearance for the, to make it look like it. But come on, like, we got to do better.
Yeah.
My question is, Camden, why are we funding Ukraine? Like, that is literally my question. Why is the American government funding Ukraine when we're in trillions and trillions of debt?
Exactly. And what we're doing is we're funding 2 wars going on right now. We have the Israel and Palestinian war over there. We're funding both sides of that. And then we're looking at Ukraine and we're funding that too. So all this is going on. Our government, our dollars are going to them and not even our own fellow citizens. So it doesn't it just doesn't make sense.
Off the roof too.
Yeah, no wonder everything's so expensive. We're sending all of our money to other countries. I mean, Lydia,
no wonder we're broke.
Lydia, what is like? What do you even do in this situation? If your whole life is changed by this hurricane, like, what do you do?
I mean, I don't know what you can even do at this point, because money isn't being given to you. I mean, and insurance, like, I've heard like stories with insurance, like they won't cover like the damage, like because there's just so many people that are just left homeless, and they're displaced, like they don't have anywhere to go, they don't have anything left. And so, I mean, I really think there's, some people that are able to go to relatives and family, and they're able to get support from them, but those people can only do so much because they also have to support themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so the support system, it's that domino effect. Like, it's constantly like you're helping one another, but then you're left with nothing, and then you have to rely on someone else. And so it's so hard that way. And I honestly, I really don't know. Like, there's not much you can really say or do. I mean, there's so many great nonprofits like Samaritan's Purse.
Yeah, I'll link some donations in the description so people can donate, because the only way is for us to help.
Only way. Those are those people, the people that are reaching out because they see an issue and they're there to solve it. But these are like volunteer people. These aren't government funded. These are people that just out of the goodness of their heart, they want to care for these people and love on these people. Yeah.
So that's the whole hurricane story right now. I mean, our government has to do better. And I mean, speaking of the government, we had the vice presidential debate, which we're going to get into now, between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. So I watched it. I know, Fadana, you were with me there. Lydia, I think you watched it as well. What do you guys think about that whole thing that went on last week?
Well, first of all, I would definitely say J.D. Vance, he brought it home. Like, he spoke so eloquently. He was so sharp that night. Even the 2 moderators that were trying to fact check him, he put them in their place. Honestly, the way that he handled the situation, he handled it like a pro and a professional. And I love how every time he spoke to the moderator, he made sure he used their names, and he spoke in a very calm, collected way where they couldn't keep attacking him. And even Tim Walz, honestly, he couldn't. He's no competition for JD Vance. No offense.
No, I mean, here, I'll show you guys something that really explains the whole thing right here. Oh, I can't even see it. Darn. Look. You just got to see JD Vance's face right here. This explained the entire debate. He was looking at us and saying, "Really? Is this really who you want to be in the government?" Because even Walz himself said he's a knucklehead at times, which I mean I agree with. But look, the good thing about this debate was it was civil. They were actually nice to each other, talking like normal human beings. And JD Vance brought facts every time that they asked him a question, and he deconstructs the question in a way to where they can't just because when they asked the questions, they were still asking in a way that was like, what are your responses to the allegations of this? And I'm like, guys, you are the moderator of the debate. What do you think, Lydia?
Yeah, I was so impressed. I mean, I've seen Vance doing other interviews for other news networks, and I've been impressed by him. But honestly, I was so impressed. He's just so eloquent. He's just so well spoken. He always has something to say. Obviously in a good way. He's able to come back with things and provide facts. And yeah, I mean, I will say Waltz didn't do horrible. I mean, honestly, I was kind of surprised by his performance too. Obviously, Vance blew him out of the water by far. But no, I was extremely impressed. And the fact that they didn't really, there was the one moment where, Vance was fact checking the moderators that his mic was turned off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but the fact that they didn't even have to nothing was muted. They didn't talk over each other. They were able to have enough self-control to where they weren't talking over each other, and they were respecting each other's time and their points. And then they were able to, have a rebuttal, of course, but it was in a respectful manner, which
it was refreshing to see something like that after how heated the political environment is. So I actually give a little bit of credit to Tim Walz for acting like that, because Kamala all she did was attack Trump. And there was still times where he brought up Trump, that's their only point. But he was more respectful than even Kamala was. So do you guys think that this swayed any undecided voters at all? Because we're really right here by the election. People are starting to receive their mail-in ballots, which I don't agree with, but they're gonna vote like that. So we're right here. So do you think this swayed any undecided voters, Fadana?
For sure, of course. I even was watching after the debate the next day on CBS. The lady was doing an interview with other people who were unsure on who they were going to vote for, and they said they were going to vote for Trump because JD Vance, he brought it home. He really did. He even mentioned the plan that they were going to come up with if they get sworn into the White House. And not only that, but I just love how JD Vance kept going back to Kamala. He didn't even mention, honestly, Tim. He kept stating Kamala is the reason for the border crisis. She's the reason for the inflation that's going on, because we all know Kamala and Joe Biden, they haven't really done anything in 3.5 years. And so I definitely would say that people are starting to see their true colors. And there was even a commercial that played do you remember the commercial, Camden, about the abortion matter?
Yes, I am so glad you brought that up, because the Students for Life organization actually was able to get a commercial in the debate, which is amazing, awesome, because that's a great time for that. And they only had a really short time frame, but they used it perfectly. They had it was like an infant barely breathing and stuff, and it was really emotional and powerful. So I'm glad they got that out. Yeah. But, Walz was actually caught lying live on the debate, which I thought was kind of funny. That whole situation where he said he was here when he wasn't, and then the China stuff, and he actually got caught lying in real time. So does that have any effect, Lydia?
Yeah, well, I would say so. When he talked about we're talking about how he was there during that horrible disaster at Tiananmen Square, and he was like, he's like, sorry, I misspoke. He
says that every sentence. He's like, hey, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, but that's
school shooter.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. He said he was friends with school shooters, which I don't even know how you put those two words in the same sentence, even if he misspoke. What the heck was he trying to say?
I don't even understand. How do you misspeak that far out there? I don't understand how that even happens. But that's his cop out. Honestly, that's what he literally does. He's like, oh, sorry, I'm a knucklehead apparently. But that's his other claim. I mean, I was kind of baffled by that. It was laughable.
Fadana's cracking up.
She is.
That was definitely the one of the highlights of the debate is seeing. I mean, look, Tim Walz really destroyed himself because every time he would keep talking, he would put himself deeper in a
Dig
hole.
himself deeper. Yeah.
Friends with school shooters. What? What?
Oh,
What?
you guys are killing me. I knew it was gonna go viral after he said.
I mean, me and Fadana were watching. Like, what did he just say?
I don't even know.
Oh my
Yeah, after
gosh.
hearing that, I was like, at this point, he gotta be because the school shooter's gonna shoot him. Might as well, right? Form an ally.
Yeah, literally.
That's what they do.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was very, timely for that after a school shooter almost assassinated Trump a little bit ago, and now he says he's friends with them. Like, what? And look, even in the first 30 seconds, something I got really mad at is first question. It was about the Israel and Palestinian stuff, but that's not what how Walz answered the question. He immediately went back to Trump is dangerous, and I was like, he's almost been assassinated twice, and we're already going back to this rhetoric again?
Yeah.
Really?
That was so ridiculous hearing that. I was like, wait, that's not even the question. You and I, we looked at each other. We're like, what is going on? I think what they try to do is just piggyback around the question. I mean, that's literally what Kamala stated whenever the moderator from the
Goes in
previous
circles.
debate. She said, well, I grew up as a child.
Oh
Like
my
nobody,
gosh.
they asked you about the American economy. What does that have to do with your upbringing? Answer the
They
question.
can't answer.
Yes or no. Are we in a better state than we were 4 years ago? No, we are not. Take full responsibility for your nonsense.
Yeah,
and stop beating around the bush.
And that's exactly what this debate showed me too. Is Vance got to the issues that people are actually going through. Like he talked about how he was once in poverty and he couldn't afford groceries once, and he says, "I know how it feels, and we got to change this." Walz couldn't even get to that point. He was stuck on abortion and like the. By the way, if you're going to be talking about abortion, why would you want to be talking about killing babies? It doesn't even make sense.
Yes.
But that's all he could talk about when Vance actually brought up issues that people cared about.
Yeah. No,
Exactly.
And Waltz, I remember like when they've gotten the abortion topic, like he was talking about, no, like we're not killing, it's not murder, but he's like, we're pro women. He says that. And I'm like, I don't know how even in the world that's pro women.
Yeah.
When you talk about it was very much just dancing around the questions, and then he wasn't getting straight to the point, like what is actually going on. He lied about what was what was happening in Minnesota with the abortions, how they were able to, if a baby was born alive from an abortion, like they didn't have to keep it alive, they didn't have to sustain the life, and he completely lied about that too, when that's really what's happening.
And that's the common theme with that ticket is they lie. And it's obvious, and you can see it in real time. So my bid to the American people that are watching this, even if it's a younger voter, like look at these debates and see who's lying, and really get to the bottom of if they're already in office, Kamala's already in office for 3.5 years. That's the main point Vance ended with, just like Trump did in the other debate, is why hasn't she fixed anything if she has been in office in the White House right now? She's not doing anything about it.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I feel like the American people just need to wake up. I feel like after this debate, people shouldn't have any more confusion. It should be loud and clear. I even heard, there was I think it was a commercial playing during the football playoff. I guess the people, Trump had funded this commercial stating what Kamala was funding with our money. Basically, she was funding gender transition, the abortion, and all of that. And I was listening to some podcasts today, and someone was like, this is not where I want my tax dollars to be going to. I feel like, honestly, the Republicans are doing a good job at getting the news out there. I feel like this is better than, previously in the
seems
past.
like it, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing our very best.
Yeah. So, I mean, what was your takeaway from the debate, each of you? Lydia first.
I mean, I do think, as you had said, like, I think things are clear and there shouldn't be an excuse for any confusion that the American people are feeling. It should be really clear, like the lines have been drawn in the sand. I mean, you could definitely tell between the two, like, there were some commonalities, like they both agreed on things, but the way that they go about things and the legislation, very different. Like they claim one thing, but then they act another way. So I really do think that people have to be very wary of that. They have to use discernment when they're watching these things. But I definitely think things are clear And Vance really did speak on behalf of him and Trump and just what they are going to do for their potential next 4 years in office.
Yeah, and I love how Vance was always on the point. Like, he was on point, and he knew how to defend Trump's answers from his policies and his last debate. Like, every time there was something brought up, he knew exactly how to say, this is what Trump was saying. And it made sense. Like, they're a good team. They work together well. What do you think, Fadana? What's your takeaway?
To be honest with you, I think with the way the debate ended, honestly, I've been hyping Vance up since day one because I've watched previous interviews that he's done. He is a very well spoken man. And one thing the American people look for is someone who is relatable.
Yeah.
He was very relatable that night, and he brought his points, and he didn't let anyone steer him away from his main point of views that he wanted to get to the American people. He delivered it and he brought it home. And I feel like this is only going to show that the American people are going to really go out and vote on November 5th. And we're going to see a great outcome. That's what I'm believing for. I have more hope now than I ever did before.
That's awesome. And I do too after the debate too, because he was relatable and he made the points that people are actually struggling with. So guys, if you're a voter, this is it. This was probably the last debate we'll see. So take into account in your mind who is going to help what you are struggling with. That's the whole point. So we got to get out and vote. But thank you guys for joining today. It was a great episode, great discussion. And guys, if you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button, support No Filter, because we get taken off of a lot of platforms for our opinions. Even if it's not even that controversial, TikTok and other platforms are super censored. So we're going to keep being uncensored on here as long as we have the platform. So subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time on No Filter Gen Z.